She's stepped outside of her comfort zone. She's made her own way in the world.
She's so self-assured, she's so confident.
Ultimate team player and teammate.
Very composed, good on the ball, just a presence, really.
Do you want me to really go into a lot of detail?
Jen Beattie is one of the trailblazing football stars to emerge from the modern era of the women's game.
Oh, down for Beattie's there!
She's played at the highest level for Manchester City, Montpellier and Arsenal, and she's featured on the big stage for the national side. Brought up in Jordan Hill in Glasgow, the youngest of three, Jen Beattie had sport in her blood from the day she was born.
She's certainly been practicing. There was a lot of sport, and I guess my family encouraged all sports. You know, I loved hockey as a kid, I loved a bit of golf.
It's a beauty.
It was such a huge part of my upbringing, you know, whether it was in the garden, throwing a rugby ball, or playing football back and forth with my brother. It was a very loving family. I really loved my childhood.
Charged down by Beattie, clear run into the line, Beattie.
Dad John had starred for Scotland in the British Lions at rugby.
And Scotland up to within metres of the line and over. Johnny Beattie, who has been a real star for Scotland in the Six Nations.
And older brother Johnny was a chip off the old block. So, what about Jen?
She was a lively wee girl, full of beans, didn't sit still for very long.
No. No, you're sinking the boat, Jen.
Among the three of them, they were competitive.
She wanted to win and be the best at everything that she wanted to be.
If there weren't, there were tears.
Whatever Johnny did, Jenny had to do the exact same, or she had to go toe-to-toe with you in everything. No, that's normal, I would say, in family life. A bit of vying for the ball, vying for attention.
But the ball Jen was vying for was a bit more round than the family had been used to.
I fell in love with football. Football, for me, from such a young age, was what I wanted to play.
I want a game of football. I'm bored.
Football started to take over Jen's life, and she soon rose head and shoulders above her teammates at Glasgow City FC.
So I went from being the first girl to have ever played for Glasgow City to then captaining it the following year. And it was another one of those moments that it was just about earning respect from the boys and kind of trying to prove yourself. I was also much bigger than at that point, so maybe they were nice to me for a reason.
Your daughter suddenly becomes the captain of the boys' team. And you think, how did this happen?
Well, a landmark film released in 2002, which proved that football wasn't just a game for the boys, played a big part.
I'd asked my mum if I could go see Bend It Like Beckham as like my birthday party. And I just fell in love with the idea that you could go and play soccer in America for a college degree. When you saw them get onto the plane, I was like, that's amazing. That was a turning point for me that I was in love with it. I was obsessed.
Jen's passion was starting to become a reality. She'd already featured for Scotland under-16s and set out to pursue a career in football.
Queen's Park for me was, I guess, the introduction to senior women's football in Scotland, and I went from playing with kids and boys to adults, women. People had to train as professionals whilst holding down full-time jobs. That made me appreciate what they were doing and how much we all loved it.
But at age 16, she had an opportunity to play as an amateur for the newly formed senior side Celtic FC Women.
I was a small fish in a big pond of a senior women's team, and I wanted to try and make it and do it.
After one season at Celtic, whilst also picking up awards at high school, a phone call in January 2009 from London would change Jen's life.
The assistant manager at Arsenal, Tony Gervais, phoned and says, "We want to bring you down in summer." I'm getting goosebumps now talking about it. They were the team that was semi-pro. They were going to put me through uni. That was the sort of big break moment for me. I couldn't get down there quick enough. I couldn't wait to get going to play with some of the biggest players in Europe at that time.
In the mid-2000s, the Arsenal team were emerging as the unstoppable force in European women's football. Before Jen arrived, they had been crowned champions of Europe and were dominating domestically.
Hey, I put some new shoes on and suddenly everything's right.
They were the ones putting the resources into women's football at that point. When I first went down to London, Mum and Dad drove me down and I got given all my kit in just this massive bin bag. But I just remember that moment of pulling this shirt out of the bag and seeing my name on the back and thinking that is the coolest thing. I've got my name on the back of an Arsenal shirt and that memory will live with me forever.
But the privilege of playing for one of the biggest clubs in the country also came with pressure to deliver on the pitch amongst some of the biggest names in the game.
To sign for Arsenal, I think that would be quite daunting for any young player because you know the expectation at the club is for silverware.
There would have been pressure on her because people would be looking at her, seeing what she's capable of, but she was obviously ready.
Arsenal was my kind of first experience of we need to win these games.
You look at Arsenal at the time, Faye White, Rachel Yankee, Jane Ludlow, you know, Julie Fleeting.
Here goes Fleeting again. Oh, what a superb goal by Julie Fleeting.
I was just in awe of the players that I was then becoming teammates with because I'd gone from looking up to them to playing with them.
Here she was coming into an Arsenal team and the history of being champions and winning and maybe some of the big personalities that were in the team then. She has such an ability on the ball, is one of the best I've ever seen. I saw a growth and maturity in a player that I kind of knew was there when she first signed for Arsenal. It was actually then the start of something, especially for Arsenal women. So all these kind of core, younger, maturing players, you knew there was a special something happening within the game.
One of those emerging stars had arrived at Arsenal 1 year before Jen, and she also happened to be one of her best friends.
Kim Little, she was the superstar of Scotland. We were the kids from Scotland that had been brought down to play for Arsenal.
Our paths of like coming into the game, coming into the professional game and playing for Arsenal were really similar. She was just like almost a year behind what I did and we both got the opportunity to come down to London and took it.
We were roommates at youth level growing up, so we were really close and she's still one of my best mates to this day.
Jenny never really had a set position and I keep thinking back to games where she would literally score every time. I think that shows the type of qualities you have as a real footballer. That's definitely my kind of memories of Jenny when we were first at the club.
In 2011, Jen was part of the Arsenal team that blazed their way to the FA Cup final. Bristol Academy stood between them and the trophy in a match played in Coventry.
The FA Cup was what I grew up watching and it was the game that was on TV. It was one of the biggest trophies you could win from a domestic perspective. The finals and the big games and the pressure ones were the ones I loved the most.
Arsenal come forward again. This is good work by Kim Little into the penalty area and it's 1-0 to Arsenal.
I still just remember it being one of the best days to be a part of. My family had obviously travelled down, loads of Scottish people were at the game. Those games were really fun.
And the trophies at Arsenal just kept on coming. However, Jen was still semi-professional and competition for full-time contracts was fierce. But in 2013, things were to change again.
My decision to move to Montpellier was because I was ready to step into a full-time role. But Arsenal at this point, the budget wasn't there for me. I wasn't one of those players that they were willing to invest in at that point, so I needed to move.
That move across the channel was a big step, but luckily there was a familiar face waiting for Jen in Montpellier, her brother.
I'm not sure if I would have done it if Johnny wasn't there.
She'd taken this leap to go to a different country with a different language and challenge herself in a different league.
She must have felt completely like a fish out of water.
I spoke a little bit of the language, but everything was in French. They'd printed out a bit of A4 paper and it had left, right, man on, goal, all in French. I really struggled at Montpellier because it was so hard with the language. And my brother eventually moved to another team, a different area of France, and I stayed in Montpellier, so then I really was on my own. To all of a sudden have no one in that second year anyway was really, really hard. And after a year and a half, I got out because I got offered Man City. and that was a game changer for me.
In 2014, Jen joined a raft of top-flight international players as Manchester City's ambitious owners spent millions, with the single goal of challenging the dominance of Arsenal and Chelsea.
Manchester City's decision to invest in women's football was a real game changer for the Women's Super League.
The women's team were completely full-time, training in the mornings, that normal football daily life that I was seeking so much.
I think it was the second year that we'd been formed, and I was very excited because for me I think she's one of the most underestimated players in the game. She always gives a consistent performance.
As Liley's corner, and the header is in! Jennifer Beattie celebrates.
I definitely developed the most tactically and technically at Man City because I just loved it. I loved everything that the philosophy was, and that was the exact kind of football that I wanted to play.
History is made in Manchester. There is a new name on the WSL trophy, and it is that of Manchester City women.
She finished that season in all competitions as Man City's joint second top goal scorer. Just gives you an idea of how many strings there are to her bow.
It was very intense because, again, you're being paid to win football matches and that's what the club demands, and you had to just buy into that mentality, and I bought into absolutely everything.
After 4 years of standout success with Manchester City, Jen's final match before moving on to a new club would be another FA Cup final in 2019. This time, the venue was Wembley, and the opposition? West Ham.
To be at Wembley all of a sudden in front of 40,000 people with, you know, mum and dad, friends in the crowd, you don't want to get your emotions involved, but it's emotional. All of a sudden your coach is wearing a suit and not a trackie. There's just a hype around it. You want to just hyper-focus on what the job is. You want to enjoy it.
Kira Walsh and drives the shot in, and Manchester City take the lead. Stanway's shot is deflected and rolls in. Georgia Stanway gets their second.
We were 2-0 up at this point, but like a game's never really done it 2-0. They were putting pressure on us.
West Ham trailing 2-0. They haven't given up yet. Beattie heads the ball away. And Manchester City make a substitution. Lauren Hemp is on.
Lauren Hemp, she was this up-and-coming kid from Bristol, and she just had pace that could light up any game and beat any fullback for pace with ease. So I thought, right, I'm just going to play a channel ball and she'll get onto it. And it was a one-touch finish across the goalkeeper.
And Manchester City wrap up the FA Cup.
To get an assist and put the game to bed and that sort of intensity of it was just amazing.
And there is the full-time whistle. Manchester City are victorious in the Women's FA Cup.
One of my favourite pictures actually is Steph Houghton and jumping on me in that moment. We'd won, and it was one of those really moments to celebrate.
I always found it really emotional when she played for a country. You know, standing for an anthem and then playing is the most extraordinary emotional battle.
One of Jen's earliest appearances in a dark blue jersey was a European qualifier in 2008 against Slovakia, aged just 16.
I just felt still quite young. My mum and dad were kind of worried that I was spending too much time travelling because you're away for 10 days at a time.
So it's Scotland-Slovakia here at McDermott Park, Perth.
I'd gone from admiring long-standing members of the national team to all of a sudden being their teammate and in the squad.
Better ball this time, great ball inside the Slovakia keeper has missed the ball, and that's Beattie's goal, I think.
Fast forward a little bit, I think she quite naturally became one of the leadership players, more experienced. She is someone who I think just very naturally wants to make everyone feel welcome, would always make sure everyone was okay. She would speak to the players who were in her camp for the first time. She's so naturally good at that, and that's just where her kind nature comes across the best, I think.
Under manager Anna Senial, Jen's performances for the national team continued to improve, and Scotland were aiming to qualify for their first ever major tournament, the 2017 European Championship.
I just really wanted that success with Scotland. I knew we could do it, but it was just about trying to achieve it.
It's a lovely cross, it's another one here for Scotland, and Jennifer Beattie has this one.
The hype was huge, it was building, you could really feel this narrative changing towards women's football in Scotland, and that was so cool to be a part of it.
After 6 wins, the team only needed 1 point to qualify for Euro 2017. But before kick-off in their final group game, a result for Portugal against Finland meant they secured their place in the Netherlands automatically.
6 weeks before the opening game, it was the last training sessions, and I tore my ankle ligaments completely to the point where I couldn't walk. I just remember being absolutely devastated. To miss out on the biggest thing that was about to happen from a national team perspective, it was crushing.
Jen watched from a distance as Scotland failed to make it out of their Euros group. But now, recovered from injury, she and her teammates set their sights on an even bigger prize in 2019.
The whole narrative after that was, we need to qualify for the World Cup, we need to keep this momentum going. It all came down to the game against Albania. We just needed to better Switzerland's score against Poland. As players, we were just kind of focused on winning. We were like, we just need to win.
Ball to the back post, Lizzie Arnott's there, might fall for a Scotland player, it falls for Kim Little, who volleys Scotland into the lead. Beautiful strike from Kim Little.
Kim Little scores a brilliant volley, not long into the game, gets us off to a good start, so it's like, ball's rolling. But I can see the whole sideline, they look tense.
Into the penalty area, she goes for goal, and it's a shock equaliser. Albania right back in this.
It's getting scrappy, nerves are starting to creep in, and we're chasing the game a little bit.
Emma Mitchell off the post, so unlucky Scotland. Jenny Beattie taken down just outside the penalty area, and it's going to be a free kick.
But at this point, when your centre-backs are in the box, you're just kind of throwing bodies up.
Caroline Weir prepares to take the free kick.
As a centre-back, I love that feeling of running up the pitch, knowing that a ball's about to be launched into the box and it's my job to try and put it across goal and try get a goal.
Box knocked across goal. Jane Ross with a header! Scotland back in front, it was coming, and it's come, and it's Jane Ross who's put Scotland back ahead.
I can see the whole sideline kind of on their feet.
Scotland just need to keep it tight.
And that's not normal. Normally they're all sat down and pretty calm, but you could tell they're all waiting for that final whistle.
We're beyond the 3 minutes of injury time to be played. Scotland know that they have qualified for the World Cup. They know that Switzerland have dropped points. Scotland, unbelievably, have qualified automatically for the World Cup for the very first time.
For me personally, to make a World Cup was just such an achievement.
These players have done it. They have won 7 out of their 8 qualifying matches.
I can just remember everyone running round in circles like school kids basically. It's just such a good feeling to do something like that with people that you love being with. It's the best feeling.
I wish I could bottle it because it was such an amazing feeling, and to get that sort of euphoria moment at the end was unreal.
Unfortunately, Scotland's World Cup party didn't get off to the best start, losing against England and Japan. But going into their final group game against Argentina, Scotland knew a win could send them through to the knockout stage as one of the best third-placed teams.
Erin Cuthbert with the opportunity here. It's a good stop. Comes back to Cuthbert. There's Little! Scotland in front! And it's Kim Little!
We started the game very well.
It's a good-looking cross. Jen Beattie unmarked! Scotland are 2 up!
That was probably my favourite moment ever in a Scotland jersey.
Can't actually describe how wonderful it is that your daughter scores a goal for a country in the place where you had some success.
My dad doesn't score many tries, I don't score many goals, but that goal is on the same pitch that he scored a try for Scotland, and that's just one of the coolest things.
Here's Weir's corner. Crichton with the header. Good save. Cuthbert though with a chance. Scotland have a third.
Found ourselves 3-0 up with, I think it was 12 minutes to go.
And the game just starts to turn on its head. And all of a sudden, goals started to creep in. 3-1, 3-2. They get a penalty. Lee Alexander saves it, unbelievable save. And we're all thinking, right, okay, get out of jail card here.
But VAR decided that the Scotland keeper Lee Alexander had moved off her line before Argentina's penalty was taken.
Gets called back to be retaken.
As we know with Scotland, it's either euphoric or catastrophic.
Can Lee Alexander produce another miracle? She can't, it's all square.
And then all of a sudden we're drawing 3-3 and we've absolutely thrown this game.
That's it. And Scotland are heading home.
I looked around and there was youngsters like Erin Cuthbert in tears. I'm looking at Caroline, we're looking beyond disappointed.
Anyone I went past, I grabbed onto them. It kind of became like a chain. You know, you just made the chain bigger and bigger and eventually you sort of scooped everyone in.
There's only going to be one winner in tournament football. There's going to be a lot of disappointment and heartache, and that was our moment for that. It's why you love it and it's why you hate it at the same time. If I could replay any game in my entire career, that would be the one.
At the age of 31, Jen decided to hang up her boots as an international player, having been capped 143 times and scoring 24 goals for her country.
It was never a decision I took lightly. I took a long time to think about it. For me, I just got to a point where the timing just felt right. I was ready to do other things. It was the greatest honour to be able to put on a blue shirt and play for your country.
In June 2019, Jen left Manchester City and signed a new deal to return to her spiritual home at Arsenal. While the world was closing down due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Jen was about to face the biggest challenge of her life.
I felt fit, I felt healthy, I was playing for the club I love. It caught me completely off guard. Checked myself and felt a lump and knew that I needed to go and get it checked. It was COVID, so I was in a room with just the doctor. I was scared. I actually think back to that moment and you just go into panic. When you hear that word as well, you automatically think the worst.
She had to go in and do that all on her own. 24 hours later, she phoned and she said, "It's not good news, Mum."
And she just said that she had cancer. It was just awful.
Yeah.
Your life definitely takes a turn.
We couldn't see her, we couldn't hold her, we couldn't physically be with her.
It's human emotion to want to hug someone, so to not be able to do that was just bizarre.
I wanted to jump in a car and go and see her, but we couldn't. It was horrific.
"3 days after being diagnosed with breast cancer and supported by her club and her teammates, Jen lined up for Arsenal against Brighton.
It's incredible, but it's football that got her through.
Her teammates stepped in as her family.
McCabe will send this in. It's a dangerous one. And that is over the line. Jen Beattie congratulated.
I'm so happy I was on the pitch to give her the love that she deserved, and everyone just obviously did. I think everyone was crying, not just Jenny.
It was a moment of a team getting around someone, and that's honestly how it felt every day. I felt like they had my back and we'll get through this as a team, as a family. And that's what we did.
In December 2020, Jen went public with her diagnosis, and in one of the big games of the season against her old club, Manchester City, both sets of players joined forces to help raise awareness about cancer.
And I remember we all had these tops saying BT5 on the back, and it was such a powerful image. I think that day we all realised that there's stuff out there that is so much bigger than football. So everybody, Arsenal, Manchester City, the world of women's football, how much support there was for Jennifer Beattie, not as a footballer, but as a person.
The way that the football community really got behind that just blew me away. And I just remember thinking, wow, like, I can't believe that's my story that everyone's sharing.
1 year after completing her treatment, Jen received the all clear. She continued to feature for Arsenal throughout the COVID period. And then, Jen received an award in recognition of the important work she had carried out in the face of adversity.
I am so happy to present this year's BBC Sports Personality of the Year Helen Rollison Award to you. I tried to be as present as possible for her, so then keeping something a secret like that was quite hard. In moments like that, people like Jenny deserve to be spoken about in a certain way and with the right words, so I just didn't want to do her injustice, but then I started crying, so it all went out the window.
I can honestly say players and staff, every member here got me through that very difficult time, so thank you.
There's more pride as a parent in your child doing something good than just winning a game.
And the accolades just kept on coming. But this time, it was an honour for her charitable work that didn't come from the sporting community.
Jenny phoned us and she said, "You'll never guess, I'm going to get an MBE."
It was one of the proudest moments I think I will ever have in my life.
I will never forget. And the beauty was that we got to celebrate it together.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic day.
Being awarded an MBE with my family there was the most emotional thing ever. And yeah, just a complete full circle that, yeah, I can't.
Jen Beattie has carved a path to success through a challenging period of growth in the women's game. She's achieved at the highest level whilst overcoming personal difficulties. And she continues to inspire the next generation of young footballers to bend it like Beattie. And now she's carving out a role as an authority on football.
These are pro players. They want to win football matches regardless of who they're playing.
And in 2024, she signed for the National Women's Soccer League side Bay City in California. So the next chapter of her football career will take place in the USA.
The proudest I've been is watching the young women after games go to meet the fans and all these young girls piling forward, you know, to get a glimpse of the heroes, and they want pictures and selfies.
I think it's just so cool that we are now in a position where we can inspire the next generation.
She's someone who's led the way through the transition of the women's game.
Seeing what the girls are able to achieve now, I have a lot of admiration for them simply because they chased something that wasn't there.
She's been part of a group of female athletes in this country that's changed the landscape.
When she looks back on her career, I hope she has a big smile on her face.
Jenny, who was 16, knocking a ball about with the boys after school, is the same Jenny now.
I see someone who transcended the sport and touched people in so many ways. And I think that's why she is an icon of football.
And it all started from
Bend it like Beckham.
Bend it like Beckham.
I've just tried to be myself. I've learned a lot about myself. I've put myself so far out of my comfort zone in some things, but to sum it up, it's been amazing.